Hey everybody, I'm so glad to be here. I found a couple of minutes to carve out of my day. I don't have a lot of privacy in my backyard, and that's one of the landscaping challenges I'm currently facing. We live on what's called a flag lot, so our backyard, we're looking into not one, but two houses' front yards. So I have just been in a continual process of trying to put up screening hedges and different plants. It's a work in progress for sure. So, I'll be taking you guys on the journey of trying to fill in little holes where I feel like, just more of a hedging is needed. But, I have these AirPods in. I just realized, it's always something, isn't it, when filming. Back to what I was saying as I drink my kombucha here. It's delicious. So, in a nutshell, 2025 has gone like this in a couple of different phases. Seed starting in January, cleaning out flower beds and creating new ones over the last couple months when it's still been cold. Pruning and fertilizing, that's been going on in the last couple of weeks as we get closer to the frost-free date here in our zone 6B, which is mid-April, April 15th, around that time, give or take a couple week or two. So the phase that I'm currently in is transplanting my seedlings. So that has been a continual process of hardening off seedlings. So once they have, I believe it's 2 sets of leaves, you can start fertilizing, hardening off, depending on if they're cool season flowers like snapdragons, sweet peas. Those can be put out a little bit earlier. Maybe not when there's a huge chance of frost, but when you're, dipping down into the upper 30s. Anything below that, I've been bringing the sweet peas inside. So looking at the 7-day forecast, doesn't look like we're going to be dipping too close to that, mid 30s to low 30s. So I'm pretty confident I'll be able to keep the sweet peas at least out. The snapdragons, I've had those out for the last 3 weeks, I believe, 3 weeks to a month. And they're doing okay. They're not super fast growing. It could be that I have them in too sheltered of a spot along the wall there, my little transplanting wall, hardening off wall location, where it's got quite a bit of shadow. So yeah, currently just going around assessing the yard, trying to see what's coming back in the way of perennials versus weeds. That's a little bit of a tricky science there. I think it's more of an art. I've been using my app a lot, my Plant ID app, to try to figure out if it's a weed. And some weeds I'm keeping around, like I believe it's called false strawberry vine. I may end up regretting that if that takes out my hostas on my north-facing garden bed. You can imagine that gets a ton of shade being north-facing. South-facing is doing great. My quick-fire hydrangeas are coming back. I have planted some Orangium over there, my plant starch. Those seem to be doing okay. I haven't noticed any critters trying to eat those. My allium bulbs, those are starting to come up. Those are looking good. I'm excited about the allium for sure. The next phase is going to be propagation when it gets warm enough. I definitely want to take more hydrangea cuttings because those are some that I overwintered that did beautifully. That really have come back with a great flush of growth. I'm going to get those planted out at some point. Not quite sure where to put those, but I definitely have some options in the yard. My next big thing I'm going to plant out is why can't I think of it? The willow. The dappled willow? Japanese dappled willow. It's beautiful. And I've got a perfect little location for that. Again, with the hedging. It is deciduous, so it'll lose its leaves, which is not ideal for a hedge. But, we're not out in the backyard a ton in the winter. We are out some. But, yeah. I talk a little bit about, in this video, a borrowed view. Now, what is a borrowed view? Definitely applies to a lot like ours, a house lot like ours, where we have the flag lot situation where we are trying to create some privacy, but at the same time, we want little windows to poke through, so to speak, where the fence is between the large trees, where we can see the beautiful Japanese cherry tree that's blooming right now. Here is a space that I would like to fill in with some plants. That's a gorgeous borrowed view there. My neighbors, look at those spring colors. I mean, that's just gorgeous. But yeah, this is an actual driveway in someone else's front yard. Back here, we're on a flag lot. So I have put in these larger arborvitaes. They were fully grown when I bought them. They're growing pretty well, but I left a space here for what I hope to be a lovely focal point to break up the monotony of the arborvitaes. Of course, I've got my pines here in the back as well. So this spot obviously receives some midday shade. I did purchase a dappled willow. I've had my eye on this for years now. I think this will be a really nice focal piece in this garden bed that I'm going to fill with natives, perennials, pollinators, you name it. This is not native. It's Japanese, I believe. It's a willow. Should get about 6 to 10 feet tall. Initially, I was going to put it closer to my driveway in the front, but I decided to do a different course of action, just given that it's a willow and its roots are pretty extensive from what I understand and pretty aggressive. Of course, it likes water, so I'll make sure to water it a bunch along with the other trees that are pretty well established, but I still fertilize and water every spring, especially every summer. In the heat of summer, I will water these arborvitaes as well because I need a hedging here. I need more privacy, but I do love the borrowed views from my neighbors, as they would call it, from their trees. And we just do need a little more privacy for sure. And I think many suburban gardeners are thinking in those terms because as we have high density housing, especially going up in so many locations, people really want to create that sense of being in a cocoon and being able to enjoy their garden. I did just purchase a gardening book at Half Price Books that I'm really excited about getting through. It is expansive. It's got a lot of information. I'm going to do a separate video just on what I uncover from this book because it's all about the landscape design aspect of gardening, just having certain themes in mind or feelings that you want to evoke coming from your garden. You don't have to have a horticulture degree, right, to know how to pull something off in terms of just a feeling of nostalgia. That's what I'm all about. I'd really like to plant a magnolia and a dogwood, although I don't think dogwoods do great in this area. Nurseries do sell them, but you just don't see a lot of those planted. Azaleas, that's one that is starting to come into its own right now. We went on a family trip down to Gatlinburg and around Knoxville. Those azaleas were already in full bloom, and then we came home and they were just starting to, their buds kind of slightly open. And now, days later, I can see that we're starting to see some color in regards to the azalea. But I'm telling you something, on my run today, I ran by a Korean spice viburnum, and it was amazing. It smelled so good. I thought it was a lilac, but of course lilacs don't really fully bloom, I don't think, until the depth of summer. But that smelled good. So that's another one that I want to get. And a Japanese maple. I really feel like the only plant that will do in my front garden bed extension on the other side of my driveway is a Japanese maple. I already have a viburnum. I already have a sea green juniper for the evergreen, for the year-round interest. Have some other native plants that I've got going in there, like phlox and the eryngium. And yeah, I just think that a viburnum or a Japanese maple is what's called for. Now, these are running about $200 at the nursery. I did just check out the price the other day, and I was like, yikes. So that's an investment right there. That would be the most expensive investment, I think. Well, no, the most expensive investment tree-wise I've had are the arborvitaes, which I probably could have gotten for cheaper, but they were taller. They were like 10 to 12 feet tall already. So we paid a little bit of a premium for those, again, to create the privacy screen in our backyard. The growth on those is not as vigorous, I think, potentially because they're under the shade of pine trees. They like full sun, and that's what they have for the most part, but they do have some shade because they are under those pine trees. But the rhododendron has absolutely loved being under the pine trees. So I have been visiting some nurseries locally, hitting up Lowe's, Home Depot to see what stuff I can get on clearance. Just the other day I went and they had like the pansies on sale, which I don't really get into. I know a lot of people like those. I'm not a big annual person, as I've said. So for me, it's all about, purchasing the perennials when those are on sale, because those come back. So you get your money's worth, in my opinion. Vegetable garden. That is another phase in the gardening scheme, right? Edibles. You need them. So I had started some spinach. I was looking a little wilty. So I said, I got to get my vegetable garden. So, I just worked with the soil that I had. I had already cleaned out the vegetable garden from last year, about 2 months ago, I think. And so I cleared all the debris and everything out of there. So the soil's just been kind of sitting. There's our neighborhood chipmunk. It's so cute. Oh, I just love little chipmunks. They're so adorable. Anyway, getting distracted here. So yeah, all I had to do, I had a big bag of garden soil I picked up at Costco for $8. I was able to fill 3 of the 4 quadrants with just topping it off with garden soil, mixing that in. And I put in my spinach. I planted some tomato seeds. Since we're close to that frost-free date, I checked in on my winter sow stuff, which I believe is Shasta daisy, marigold. The lavender has not popped off yet. I have not seen any germination from my lavender in the winter sow. Growing from seed indoors, I did see that, as well as delphinium, which I am really pleasantly surprised that I saw the delphinium germination successful this year, because last year it was not. So those are going to be exciting. Those are still under a light, as are my zinnias. So the zinnias, I went ahead and up potted those, which means put those into a larger pot, because I can't really put those out yet. I don't want to start hardening those off this week, maybe in the next week or two. But I do want to have success with those because they are beautiful. And those are the Johnny seed, which I had an excellent, excellent germination rate on those. I have a forsythia that I'm not sure where to put. I just don't know. I thought about doing it in the front yard, but I realized I have too much chartreuse green, so I have too much of a yellow in the front yard. That's why I think a Japanese maple will be perfect. The red leaf variety in that extended garden bed, a smaller ornamental Japanese maple. So I need some red. So I need some red up there in front. I also have a red twig dogwood that I'm not sure where to put, but I do think I may end up putting it next to the willow, the dappled willow. So I did call before I dig, had them, the utilities came out. I'm good to start digging another garden bed if I dare. Thank you guys for watching today. The next couple of videos are just going to likely be highlighting, what I'm doing in terms of transplanting. I'm going to be starting some new seed as well, but mostly, sowing outdoors. I'm just really trying to beef up my garden beds. They're really in a good place right now. I'm having success with a lot of my perennials coming back after having bought them new last year as plant starts. The Black-Eyed Susan is coming back, is looking really robust, as well as the bee balm I have out front. I noticed potentially some goldenrod popping up out of nowhere. I don't think I put in any goldenrod last year, which is a native perennial, which is lovely. And then some coneflower, which I'm really excited about, but I have an issue where I worry about the competition from chickweed, which I really like as a ground cover. I've noticed there's like some chickweed carpeting under my viburnum out in the front bed. but it's getting really close to the coneflower. So I don't know if those can coexist. If you have any thoughts or comments on that, please feel free to comment down below and give me any experiences that you've had with chickweed, because I think it's really lovely and it's actually edible. You can put it in salads and stuff. So let me know what you're doing in your garden. I'd love to hear. And yeah, till next time, just also check me out on shorts, because I like to upload a lot of shorts almost on a daily basis. See you guys later.